Hello, hello, bro. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. How's your day been? Have you been able to get rid of the tired, the yippy? Still upright and meowing? That's good to hear, at least. And meowing is good for vocal practice anyway. And also, I suppose, just your nature. Let's see, is everything okay? That is who the cat girl is. Right? Hello, hello, Vilafar. Welcome, welcome. Oh, those action lines. Those action lines are good. Oh, they're from Bunny Hearted. That's why. Wait, Vilafar, are you on Fetty? Or did you find Bunny Hearted through somebody else? Because I know Fetty, Mastodon, that whole set of software that connects together. Oh, you rated Bunny Hearted once. Okay. That makes sense. Oh, at my recommendation. Right. Vilafar, you're not on Fetty. That's really surprising. Then again, I'm generally surprised when people aren't on Fetty. Just like, but, you can get away from corporate social media that's, controlled by billionaires and the ravenous profit incentive of shareholders. Vilfar, I actually got rated into Bunny by another person I follow. I barely use social media at all. Yeah, might have been Rose Raid. Wait a minute, did I recommend that one? Oh, at your recommendation. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, she's a good one. Let me... just need to make sure that all of my stuff is okay. I think I have most of my tech stuff done. Sunny Day Enjoyer. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Hello, Lucy. Welcome, welcome. It's good to see you. How have your days been? I suppose in your case, Lucy, it's starting to be early morning, isn't it? I know a lot of people in the U.S. are still sort of reeling from daylight savings time and having one less hour over the last 24 hours. I know I was really surprised last night when I looked at the time and it was already 3-something. And I was looking at my clock going, did I really take that long for not for breakfast, for dinner, right? Because I had done stream, sat around for an hour or two, and then finally gotten dinner. Nope. It's just daylight savings time moves the clock forward an hour at 0200, which is a really, really weird time too. Lucy, yeah, kind of eepy? That's fair. Sunny, I'm good. Just came back from a quick beach walk. Aw, that sounds like a lot of fun. So that would place you, I suppose, somewhere in the Eastern Hemisphere, huh? Hello, Balbs. No, you can't. Oh, I'm sorry, chat. Balbs head bonked the other end of the mic stand and it levered it right into my headset. Would you like to be in my lap instead of causing trouble? Come on. There you go. Okay. And then, there you go. Now he's in my lap and he can get as much attention as he wants without causing a whole bunch of trouble with my sound equipment. Or my desk, or my monitors, or my keyboard. Gods. Steady danger. I'm from the Southern Hemisphere? That makes sense, both time zone wise and also temperature wise, right? Definitely not the not uncommon to get people from that area of the world or when I stream. Let's give me 1 sec. There we go. Oh, okay, Balbs, that's... Oh, one of his hind legs is digging into a fairly sensitive and critical spot in my thigh. Ow. Oh, Balbs, my legs need circulation, okay? You can't just cut off circulation to a whole leg. Then you won't have a thigh to actually sleep on, okay? Oh. Vilfar managed to avoid getting hit by DSD by planning to wake up way earlier? That's a smart thing to do. I was not particularly wise last night, and only really got up to do dinner at 100-ish. It was pretty bad. No, Balbs, I can't let you go. You're going to cause trouble. Yeah, you'd think it'd happen at midnight? Yeah, logically that, like go to midnight, skip an hour. Fairly simple. Or skip the last hour to midnight. Like, that's when our day starts. You're even more of a night owl than me? Yeah, historically I've been... I... half-jokingly... Well, 1, I'm a bard. 2, succubus, right? So, and 3, gamer. But I often half-jokingly tell people that my bedtime is 6, sometimes 6. I'm just going to let that sink in for just a moment. And notice, I use 24-hour time. Just on the daily, right? So saying 6 is extremely, extremely on purpose for me. And yeah, sometimes I do fall asleep at 1800. Sometimes I'm a gamer and I, greet the sun as it comes up, say hi, and then ask it if it could go down below the horizon again so that I could, either game more or read more, as happens often, or actually sleep without the sun. I try not to do either of those. Ro, I'm a 24-hour time girly too. Yeah, I think the thing that pushed me into it the most was having guild members in our gaming guild basically in 4 different continents. And pretty spread out. Obviously the UTC -8 through 5, UTC itself, UTC +1 and 2-ish, and then also UTC +8, +9, +10, that range. Oh, hello, Crafty Crobat. Welcome. Hello, pretty sounding bard. Oh, thank you. sounds pretty and looks pretty. Oh. At the very least, the former I can change to a good degree. Okay, Babs. If I let you go, do you promise not to make trouble? He says nothing. He just continues to purr. What do you think, Babs? No troublemaking? Okay, go, go, go. And there he goes. Rose, same to be honest. Say nothing, just purr. It's a tactic. I have to admit its effectiveness. Cravat definitely looks pretty too. Oh yeah, how has your day been, Cravat? Except if any of you have been to the streams, you know I never shut up. That is sort of the job of a streamer, though, isn't it? Especially if, I've talked about this before, but a lot of my streams are, various, performance-based, even more than, your average streamers is. It's like with music. I play the music, and while I'm playing it, I don't have to yap, right? And when I'm reading, I also don't have to yap. I just have to read. Whereas, most streamers, never shutting up is a good thing. And sort of, really one of the main parts of the job description. A chatty cat. It's a good thing. We all enjoy it. Cravat? Good, I'm eating Japanese curry for every meal now. Oh, that envy, deep envy. I wish I could. There was a period in my time where I had curry for at least once a day, pretty much. Part of it was that the restaurant I worked at had a buffet. And as part of that buffet, we had curry that included all of the various meat trimmings that, would get trimmed off of everything from our lowest quality meats all the way up to, stuff like tenderloin, right? And every day that I worked there, just, as part of my meal, rice and the curry that literally has the super expensive meats in it without anybody really noticing. And then when I was working at a different job, I would wake up in the morning and, it's hard to eat that early in the morning, but I found that in Japan there's these packets of curry that you can get. They're in soft metal packages. And I think you can get them here too, though they're a little expensive. They're like $5 a piece here, whereas in Japan it's like 200 yen, so about $2. I think about 200 cents, right? 1 yen equals 1 cent. And then I would have super fluffy Japanese milk bread with it, shokupan. And just, tear the bread, dip it into the curry, and eat. And then once I was done with the 1 or 2 slices of bread I allotted for myself, I would just spoon the rest of it, or use a spoon to eat the rest of it. And every day, I never got tired of that. It's I think I'm not unusual in saying that I can get tired of most foods, especially when eaten at that frequency, right? But curry? Nope. Never. I love hearing you talk. It's great. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I could bring you a little joy. Sounds awesome. Yeah, it really was. Like, we had various other things in the buffet, but I think the things that I ate the most were the curry and the pineapples and the pudding, probably. Ro, my partner, recently introduced me to Japanese curries, and goodness, this stuff is magical. It really is. Oh, wish I could actually teleport you some of the curry when I make it. It's really good. And I mean, you can get it wrong, but it's hard to get it wrong. And also my mother, so like with violin, right? Fingertips are super important. If you injure them, it takes a long time to heal, and it takes even longer for your senses, your fingertip nerves to heal properly, if they ever do, which would be slightly detrimental for a violinist. So she rarely ever let me help out in the kitchen. Or at least with the sharp and or hot stuff, right? But somehow she still managed to teach me how to cook. Like, a lot of my fundamentals seem to come from her, including the fact that you can, if you don't like onions very much, you can caramelize them into oblivion, right? Dice, really. Dice a bunch of onions, melt some butter. If you want, put a little bit of garlic in there, and then just dump the onions in and stir for the next 3 hours, right? And if you make curry out of that base, they sort of become part of the stew part of the curry, the liquid part of the curry, as opposed to actually being a solid. And so that's, when she learned that I didn't like onions, she snuck it past me like that one day, and was like, "But I don't taste onions." She was like, "Perfect." And so that's how I do it now. And also, it doesn't include potatoes in my case. Because one of the things that I remember her saying is, okay, if you put potatoes in, don't overcook it. Otherwise, the potatoes will cook into the liquid part of it and sort of become grainy almost. And so, yeah, it's usually my curry involves the garlic and the butter and the onions. We're talking whole sticks of butter here, at least one, if not two. And then like 8-10 onions, just cooked into oblivion, and then a bunch of carrots, a bunch of beef, usually a bunch of mushrooms, and then just cook that until it becomes this wonderful, wonderful, just, I don't even know what to call it. I mean, it's a stew technically, but it tastes so good. And the secret ingredients tend to be things that are added later, and in small quantities. Usually things like honey, yogurt, Worcestershire sauce, ketchup or barbecue sauce too. And using those to slightly nudge the flavor in certain ways, or using them as hidden flavors to bring out other parts of the flavor. Worcestershire sauce, yep. Worcester Cheshire. Yeah. Dr. Cravat, it's something I don't get tired of either. It's good to know I'm not alone. So yeah, it's so good. And it's such a good leftover, too. It just gets better past the first day. Like the first day, you know, you've cooked it, you're excited, you've been smelling the darn thing. Your house is now inundated with both the smell of butter and garlic cooking and then the onions, as well as the curry and the beef, right? You're just absolutely inundated with it. And so, you know, the first meal of a giant pot of curry is really good. But once it gets to sit overnight, it becomes even better. And actually, what's the word for it? Like, it's fairly spiced, so it lasts a good bit in the fridge as well. Not quite able to find the word for it at the moment, but... Worcestershire sauce? Oh. Lucy, do you have any commentary on what Ro just said? Worcestershire sauce as opposed to Bestshire sauce, which they don't want you to know is just barbecue. Oh, gods. Wash your sister sauce? Wait, has she not had a shower in a while, or what's going on? Did she roll around in the mud? I'd prefer she wash herself. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm fairly sure she's able to. Unless she's, like, terribly injured or something. Oh, good. For a sec, it looked like I thought the fireplace wasn't going. And then I realized that I was looking at a different screen that has a screenshot of this particular scene. Oh, before we get too far, does anybody have any requests for anything that you'd like me to hear? Or that you'd like me to, not hear, that you'd like me to read? Let's see. There we go. And I can pin that until end of stream. Oops. Ro, unironically, what if you read Jabberwocky? Jabberwocky. I'm fairly unfamiliar with what Jabberwocky is. Let's see, so there's... I wonder if there's a full text somewhere. Hey, Ro. Does this look like the correct text? Gurbad, I have a baby sister, so there is that. That's fair. Ro, it's a poem from Alice in Wonderland. You might be familiar with the opening stanza. It's relatively well known. Yep, that's the opening. Okay. I am completely unfamiliar with it, unfortunately. Although, let me test something real quick. Where did I paste that? What? Restream. Restream bot. You're drunk. Go to bed. Yeah, we can definitely read this though. Do we want to start out with this? This would definitely be an interesting warm-up, a little unconventional. Oh, before we do anything, let me do 3 minutes of ads real quick just to get rid of the pre-roll ads. If you're subbed, you won't see these, but if you're unsubbed, see you in 3 minutes. Ro, it's a ton of words the author made up, yeah? I mean, that's basically, similar to Shakespeare, right? I mean, even a lot of the words that we use today were literally just made from whole cloth by Shakespeare. Yeah, this will be very interesting. Early modern English too? And hast thou slain? Gyre and Gimble. Gyre? Let's see. Tavi reads the Hamlet soliloquy when? Good question. How long is the Hamlet soliloquy? Soliloquy. Oh, right. Oh, this one. This one's fairly famous, isn't it? That's something that I might have to practice, maybe? We could take a look through it if you'd like. Honestly, Jabberwocky has always been a kinda hauntingly bizarre and almost beautiful poem to me. Yeah, that makes sense. It feels just rooted in our reality enough that it feels like almost feels like a parallel universe overlaid upon ours, doesn't it? Where much is the same, but there's just enough different that it feels odd. Oh dear. I hope somebody isn't doing carpentry out there. Otherwise, I'll have to shut the window. Just when I was thinking it was a nice, nearly spring day. Ro, absolutely. It's like a fantasy world where everything is just barely familiar. Yeah. I suppose that goes along with the themes of, the theme and feel of Alice in Wonderland, doesn't it? Where a lot of the underlying things are very familiar, but also there are surreal things about them. Oh, welcome back, Twitch. All right. Let's see. Let me make sure that my posts are good to go. Okay. Fatty post boosted. Pre-roll ads taken care of for the foreseeable future. I did put the... Yeah, good. Also, if you'd like to, if you're not already in the Discord, and you'd like to get consistent going live notifications or just geek out with us, that's our Discord server. All right. So we'll do Jabberwocky, and then let's take at least a glance through the Hamlet soliloquy, shall we? Geek out, you found my one true passion. Surprisingly common, that one. All right. Take a sip and then head right in. Sparrow, bite the pillow. I'm going in the Discord dry. Why? Always lube. Always more lube. And if you think it's enough lube, you need more lube. Now, let's see. Well, welcome to the Discord, Sparrow. And also, hello. How's your day been so far? We're just about to get into Jabberwocky by William Shakespeare. No, that's Hamlet. Not William Shakespeare. Lewis Carroll. And then we were going to take a look at the Hamlet soliloquy by Shakespeare. All right. Balbs, I need to read. I'm sorry. Okay. Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. Oh, mimsy were the borogoves, and the momraths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the Frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time the manxome foe he'd sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes aflame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O Frabius Day, Calo, Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. Old mimsy were the borogoves, and the mum raths outgrabe. And that was Jabberwocky. Thanks for that request, Ro. That was definitely interesting. Absolutely perfect. It's gonna sound utterly musical in your voice, isn't it? I hope so. It was less difficult to physically read than I thought it would be. So weird, but it did sound utterly musical. Most of that is going to be the original writing. Oh, yep. Let's see. We can go here, and we can report. Where is the report button? Report. Bot at 003900. And there we go. And let's delete that. We can go over to the YouTube side and delete it as well. Move. And there we go. Oh, reported them for me. And thank you, thank you. So this is the famous soliloquy by William Shakespeare in Hamlet. This is the to be or not to be one. And truth be told, I haven't actually read through this before. Not in its entirety, anyway. But at Rose's request, I suppose we'll take a look through. Sparrow, oh, wise words. Always more. I played a board game and napped, so pretty good. That does sound like a nice day. Any day where you can have time to nap and still do more things is a good day. Ro, frankly, it's hard to perform. I did it for an acting class once, and it's a bit wonky. Interesting. Yeah, it's much, the structure of it would be, if it was in sentences, right, like I normally read from books, it might be a little easier to see what the structure is and how the flow is. But the way it's written, this might actually add to the difficulty. Let's see here. So this is the famous soliloquy from Hamlet. Oops, let's see. To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the presser's wrongs, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of disprised love, the law's delay? the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might be quite as meek with a bare bodkin. Who would fight else bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience doth make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is slicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard their currents turn awry, and lose the name of action. Interesting. I can definitely see the difficulty. The whole thing feels as if it's 3 run-on sentences in a trench coat. And that makes it rather hard to, I think, convey via voice in a way that the listener will be able to keep track of and understand. Absolutely, it's incredibly stream of consciousness. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Looking at it, having read it now, I can sort of see what the overall message slash question is. But it's definitely hard to actually perform. Hard to read too, honestly, but thank you for those requests, Ro. If nothing else, those were fun. And Jabberwocky was overall a good one. It's often delivered with a sense of almost desperation, too. Yeah, I can see that, of just faster and faster, more anxious, more unhinged. The Hamlet one, yeah. Sort of, getting more and more desperate as the lines go on, perhaps, is a good way of reading that particular excerpt. Excerpt, that's the word. As a note, if anybody else would like to request anything that's fantasy, I'm always happy to read things, or almost always happy to. There are one of 2 things I think that I've not read upon request, but on the whole, most requests I do read. Let's see. Shall we read some Elder Scrolls books? These are various short stories from various Elder Scrolls games. So this is Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, 3 Morrowind, 4 Oblivion, 5 Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Online, and I think there's 1 or 2 others, I think. That gets crazy. I delivered a soliloquy in a musical once, and an incredibly tense scene, sort of tonally similar to that, and it's super emotionally challenging. It's a great thing I wasn't in another scene until the end of the 2nd act, because it took me that long to be calmed down. Yeah. If you're actually really getting into it, and not just sympathizing with the character, but really becoming the character, right? Then yeah, I can see why that would be super difficult. Often Singers, I think, get this a lot, or singing teachers, I should say, often get this, from what I hear, of certain songs actually um, overwhelming the student and them, sort of breaking down and having to pause things for a while. And of course, singing teachers are not therapists, and so it's hard to deal with that sort of thing. Aside from just comforting people as you normally would, but and that's sort of for me often. I can embody with my music. It's more whole feelings, but nothing too specific. And there are pieces that when I play them, they draw me into that state of emotion. But usually it's nothing specific enough to, have to be calmed down. Oh, I'm sure I'll tell you about it sometime, but it's kind of heavy for stream chat. That's fair. That's fair. I appreciate the discretion. Let's see. This is a very short book. It goes over the Dragon Break, which is a point in time where the timeline split. And then it comes back together eventually. Oh, a sip. Thank you. I swear, without the reminder, I would have gone at least a few more stories before going, oh, my mouth is completely dry. Gotta take care of the Succubard's voice. Please. I will definitely try. That's about all I can promise, but the Dragon Break. So the timeline of Tamriel splits up and then eventually meets back together at the other end of the Dragon Break. And all of those timelines happened. The lore behind the name is fairly complicated, but that's sort of the basic explanation of what the Dragon Break is. I don't remember whether the Dragon Break happened in... I think it happened in the Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, if memory serves. Ro, the Star Trek theory of time travel as opposed to the Terminator theory. And what's the difference there? Let's see. This is a fairly short one, but let's take a look through it. The Dragon Break explained. The late Third Era was a period of remarkable religious ferment and creativity. The upheavals of the reign of Uriel VII were only the outward signs of the historical forces that would eventually lead to the fall of the Septim dynasty. The so-called Dragon Break was first proposed at this time by a wide variety of cults and fringe sects across the empire, connected only by a common obsession with the events surrounding Tiber Septim's rise to power, the founding myth, if you will, of the Septim dynasty. The basis of the Dragon Break doctrine is now known to be a rather prosaic error in the timeline printed in the otherwise authoritative Encyclopedia Tamrielica, first published in the 12th year of the Third Era, during the early years of Tiber Septim's reign. At the time, the archives of Eleanor were still inaccessible to human scholars, and the extant records from the Lessian period were extremely fragmentary. The Lessians had systematically burned all the libraries they could find, and their own records were largely destroyed during the War of Righteousness. The author of the Encyclopedia Tamrielica was apparently unfamiliar with the Elessian year, which the priesthood used to record all dates. We now know this refers to the length of the long vision trances undertaken by the High Priestess, which might last anywhere from a few weeks to several months. Based on analysis of the surviving trance scrolls, as well as murals and friezes from Elessian temples, I estimate that the Elessian order actually lasted only about 150 years, rather than the famous 1008 years given by the Encyclopedia Tamrielica. The mystery of the millennial plus rule of the Lessians was accepted but unexplained until the spread of the Lorcan cults in the late Third Era, when the doctrine of the Dragon Break took hold. Because this dating and explanation are so widely held at the time, and then repeated by historians down through today, it has come to have the force of tradition. Recall, however, that the Third Era historians were already separated from the Lessians by a gulf of more than 2,000 years, and history was still in its infancy, relying on the few archives from those early days. Today, modern archaeology and palunumerology have confirmed what my own research in Elysian dating first suggested, that the Dragon Break was invented in the late Third Era, based on a scholarly error, fueled by obsession with eschatology and numerodeism. Deism? There we go. And perpetuated by scholarly inertia. As a note, this book, despite having been written at the latest during the events of Morrowind, mentions the fall of the Septim Dynasty. This suggests that the book itself may have been affected by a dragon break. The book also mentions the late Third Era, despite the fact that no one at this time would have known how long the Third Era would last, further supporting this theory. And that is the book The Dragon Break Re-Examined, which do keep in mind that the Elder Scrolls keep a tradition of... Oh dear, let me close the window here. There we go. Can't have people in their loud engines disturbing the sleeping. The unreliable narrator, where often documents within the world are much like documents in our own world, in that when documents in our own world talk about our world, they are generally unreliable, whether they are slightly influenced by, say, just the author's perspective and biases, or written in societies or even sections of societies at a time when certain more objective truths about a subject might not be known. And thus, this is this particular author's re-examination of the events of the Dragon Break. Whereas the footnote at the end is slightly more omniscient. Let's see. Star Trek theory of time travel and Terminator theory. In Star Trek, all possible timelines occur and exist after the point of time travelers arriving in the past. In Terminator, events after the time traveler arrives in the past change the future indelibly. Interesting. So in Terminator, it's much more... Time travelers have much more effect on the future. Whereas in Star Trek, it's much more nebulous. That would make sense. For example, if you go back to yesterday and change an event in Star Trek, you create a new universe. In Terminator, you go back and erase the future you knew about before, which is how Star Trek gets away with retconning themselves so much. There we go. To be fair to Star Trek, it's a long series of series with many offshoots of media. So I can't blame them too much. Whereas the Terminator just has to deal with a few movies, was it? That definitely makes things a little easier to deal with, probably. So for anybody on the YouTube side, generally Twitch has about triple the audio quality. So if you don't hate Twitch, I would recommend trying it. As for everybody on Twitch, you have about triple the quality of the YouTube stream. Don't you feel lucky? She sounds miraculous on Twitch. Hopefully not that good. Then again, the Succubard has to eat, so sounding miraculous is a good thing, I suppose. What shall we read next? Perhaps The Brothers of Darkness, which talks about the Dark Brotherhood. You know, it really would be nice to have bookshelves like that. I remember my violin teacher in her home had a bookshelf, I think one bookshelf, about the size of one of these in the background, But instead of being populated by the usual, tomes that a lot of people populate their bookshelves with, hers was basically 100% sheet music. And whenever we needed something, she would just pull it from the bookshelf and photocopy it real quick, and then hand me the violin part. That sounds absolutely incredible. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely envy that sort of situation. Also, she had a grand piano right inside her front door, which is where we had the lessons. It was one of those houses where the living room wasn't as short as the first floor. It went all the way to the roof, so second story and beyond, and had a little I think it had a little window on the roof. But because of that high ceiling, the sound was so good in that room. The library in our band hall in high school was lovely. I got to read through it once or twice a year, very much like that. The library in our band hall. Your band hall had a library? Oh, wow. That sounds incredible, though. It was just a couple cabinets, but we kept all our sheet music in there. That makes sense. Yeah, just being able to have an archive of all of the sheet music so that you could go and just copy something that you wanted to play. All right. So this is called The Brothers of Darkness. This book is from The Elder Scrolls II, Daggerfall. As their name suggests, the Dark Brotherhood had a history shrouded in obfuscation. Their ways are secret to those who are not themselves brothers of the Order. Brother is a generic term. Some of the deadly assassins are female, but they are often called brothers as well. How they continue to exist in shadow, but be easily found by those desperate enough to pay for their services, is not the least of the mysteries surrounding them. The Dark Brotherhood sprang from a religious order, the Morag Tong, during the Second Era. The Morag Tong were worshippers of the dangerous spirit Mephala, who encouraged them to commit ritual murders. In their early years, they were as disorganized as only obscure cultists could be due to there being as only obscure cultists could be, due to there being no one to lead the group. And as a group, they dared not murder anybody of any importance. This changed with the rise of the Night Mother. All leaders of the Morag Tong, and then afterwards the Dark Brotherhood, have been called the Night Mother. Whether the same woman, if it even is a woman, has commanded the Dark Brotherhood since the Second Era is unknown. What is believed is that the original Night Mother developed an important doctrine of the Morag Tong. The belief that while Mephala does grow stronger with every murder committed in her name, certain murders were better than others. Murders that came from hate pleased Mephala more than murders committed because of greed. Murders of great men and women pleased Mephala more than murders of relative unknowns. We can approximate the time this belief was adopted with the first known murder committed by the Morag Tong. In the year 324 of the Second Era, the potentate Versidue Shire was murdered in his palace in what is today the Elsewhere Kingdom of Senchal. In a brash move, the Night Mother announced the identity of the murderers by painting Morag Tong on the walls in the potentate's own blood. Previous to that, the Morag Tong existed in relative peace, more or less like a witch's coven, occasionally persecuted but usually ignored. In remarkable synchronicity at a time when Tamriel, the arena, was a fractured land, the Morag Tong was outlawed throughout the continent. Every sovereign gave the cult of illumination his highest priority. Nothing more was officially heard of them for 100 years. It is difficult to date the era when the Morag Tong re-emerged as the Dark Brotherhood, especially as other guilds of assassins have sporadically appeared throughout the history of Tamriel. The first mention of the Dark Brotherhood that I have found is from the journals of the Blood Queen Arla Mahera of Hegathe. She spoke of slaying her enemies by her own hand, or, if necessary, with the help of the Night Mother and her Dark Brotherhood, the secret arsenal my family has employed since my grandfather's time. Ali Mahara wrote this in 412 of the Second Era, so one can surmise that the Dark Brotherhood had been in existence since at least the year 360, if her grandfather had truly made use of them. The important distinction between the Dark Brotherhood and the Morag Tong was that the Brotherhood was a business as much as it was a cult. Rulers and wealthy merchants used the order as an assassin's guild. The Brotherhood gained the obvious rewards of a profitable enterprise, as well as the secondary benefit that rulers could no longer actively persecute them. They were needed. They were purveyors of an essential commodity. Even an extremely virtuous leader would be unwise to mistreat the Brotherhood. Not long after Alimahera's journal entry came, perhaps, the most famous series of executions in the history of the Dark Brotherhood. The Colovian Emperor Potentate, Saverian Chorak, and every one of his heirs were murdered on that bloody night in Sun's Dawn in 430. Within a fortnight, the Colovian dynasty crumbled, to the delight of its enemies. For over 400 years, until the advent of the warrior emperor Tiber Septim, chaos reigned over Tamriel. Though no comparably impressive executions have been recorded, the Brotherhood must have grown fat with gold during that interregnum. The Dark Brotherhood has no shortage of business opportunities on accounting. I had been informed is the Dark Brotherhood's favorite euphemism for an execution. While they are officially considered an unlawful organization in every corner of the Empire, like the Thieves' Guild, they are almost as universally tolerated. And that is the Brothers of Darkness. She talks about the Dark Brotherhood and its history. Sentidimer. Hello, hello. You mentioned a name I could call you by last night. Can you remind me of it again? Hi, Vivi. Welcome, welcome. I'll be playing games, but I'm lurking. I hope stuff is going okay. Charlotte, right. And not Carlotta. Charlotte. That's going to be an interesting one to try to remember. Welcome back. It's good to see you. How's your day been? And how's your day been, Vivian? If it's too much, you don't have to. No, it's all right. I'll try. I might forget here and there, but also I might remember here and there. And names are important. As much trouble as I have with names. Worst case scenario, I ask you for a reminder. Let's see. Charlotte, my day's been average, but I'm feeling a bit down now. Don't have a particular reason for it, though, just random depression. That, I think, more than just I could sympathize with that one. Depression is a nearly constant companion. At the very least, it's always riding on my shoulders, ready to interject. Sometimes it's having tea and cookies, and leaves me alone for a little while. That said, I hope it passes quickly. I'm sorry to hear that once. At the very least, while I'm on stream, it's usually not an issue. Because whatever I do on stream, whether it's reading or gaming or playing violin, or just chatting with people, it's a lot of fun and it's really fulfilling. So, those are usually the tea breaks for depression. As well as for a lot of my other chronic conditions, honestly. Oh? Somebody wants to go vroom? Thank you, I hope so too. Let's see. What shall we read next? Does anybody have any requests that you'd like me, of anything you'd like me to read? No, we got requests for Jabberwocky and also the Hamlet soliloquy earlier. Fluffy, hello. That is a redeem, isn't it? Welcome. It's good to see you. Let's see if I can do this right here. Ara. And thank you for the redeem. Let's see. I want to make more redeems, but it feels like a lot of redeems would be unable to be used. Sound redeems, I should say, would be a little out of place during my reading and music streams, and would only work during gaming time. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe some other Japanese phrases. Maybe some English ones as well. It's just everyone does seem to like ara. Feels weird to put it in the middle of an English sentence, though. Let's see. What shall we read next? Oh yeah, how's your day been so far, Fluffy? I'm a rest here after hectic Lies of P and Dark Souls 3 completion. Oh, were you just streaming? Wait, you were live earlier, weren't you? Just ended? Ah. Let's see. There we go. A convenient little follow link for those that would like to. You just ended? Made a fool out of some bosses? That's good to hear. No need? No. It's least I can do. I'm afraid it's not a room of 100 people or anything like that, but... Hi, No Talent. Welcome. I'm a rest here too after completion of my orchestral score. My first orchestral performance, yay! Oh! Has it been performed already? Or did you just finalize the score? Oh, thank you for the sip. Oh, there we go. First draft, I'm a baby composer. Still, I've never written anything for orchestra. So, from my perspective, that's a large accomplishment. Even a first draft, getting it to completion is, it's a worthy accomplishment. I mean, even writing for 1 or 2 or 3 people feels difficult and, feels like a slog a lot of the time. And so, yeah, it's hard to imagine actually writing for a whole orchestra. Worthy of finishing a whole bottle of gin tonight. I'm feeling good. Well, may your music sound just as good in the morning as you heard it in your mind tonight. Fluffy, I'm sad I'm freshly out of good juice, orange and carrot. Oh, that would be sad. Yeah, hopefully you can get more soon. Oh, that sounds really good, though. I very, very, very rarely have juices. Mostly because when I go shopping, any sort of weight is an issue, and liquids tend to weigh a lot. I think the only liquid I ever buy is probably cooking sauces, maybe like soy sauce or meating, as well as maybe heavy cream, which is a cornerstone of my diet. Yeah. Yeah, we were just getting around to reading some Elder Scrolls lore books. If you have any requests, don't be afraid to ask, okay? As long as it's fantasy, I am more than likely to read it. Earlier today, Ro requested Jabberwocky and the soliloquy from Hamlet. So I got to sight read those, those were an experience. The soliloquy felt like 3 run-on sentences in a trench coat, is how I summed it up at the time. Which, considering English itself is 3 to 4 languages in a trench coat, mugging other languages in a dark alley, and rifling through their pockets for spare grammar and loose vocabulary, that's a lot of trench coats. Ro, unexperienced. I picked the weirdest stuff for her to read. It's okay. It's an experience. It's worth having. I might not go back to it as my first choice, or as something relaxing, but always worth reading. Bro, why does the Succubard voice sound so good while I'm tipsy? It's like, oh my god. Part of it is because you're on Twitch, where the audio quality is triple what it is on YouTube. Not of my own volition, as a note, that's YouTube's doing. But that's part of it. The other part might be that I'm maybe finally getting comfortable with my own voice. I wanted to say breaking it in, but that's not quite right. I was thinking, like leather boots where you wear it for a little while and it conforms to the shape of your feet. But breaking in also has other connotations. And my voice is much more a companion. Hello, hello, Sentidemir. Oh yeah, the audio quality is significantly better. I'm glad you think so. Ro, it sounds amazing sober too, but you're right, a drink or two and it's magic. Oh. You're making me wish that I had some heavy cream left, because I have a bunch of Irish cream and no heavy cream to accompany it. Fluffy, my favorite bedtime story is The Lies of P. Lore. Well, if you have any short story type things that you'd like me to read, I'd be more than happy to read them. I'm not limiting the lore reading to the Elder Scrolls. It's just something that I know there are many books for, and also a topic that I'm more generally acquainted with. Figures like Emperor Titus Mede, the whatever, are names that I can see on a page and go, oh, I know that person. I know what their name is. I know how it's pronounced. Tamriel, too. That's another one. Fluffy, and I'm getting there. I'm getting comfy with my voice. Oh, that's good to hear. That's really good to hear. I think especially with, streaming and using your voice. And really using your voice as the main extension and expression of you. I think it helps a ton in both discovering how you want your voice to represent you, as well as actually practicing it and seeing how it sounds and seeing how certain words and phrases feel. Charlotte, since I saw the Restream bot in YouTube chat, are you using Restream to stream to both YouTube and Twitch at the same time? As if so, do you think the quality could be Restream's fault? No. I used to do only YouTube. It's why YouTube has 800 and something followers and Twitch only has 300 and something. I've only been doing the Twitch side of things for maybe 4 or 5 months now. But even then, it's a limiter. It's YouTube limiting the bit rate of audio in live streams. It's very, very specific. I don't know why they have it. I'm giving them about 5,000 kilobits per second of video. And I could go double that if I wanted to. But for some reason, YouTube gets persnickety about audio. Whereas to Twitch, I believe my audio is streaming at 384 kilobits. YouTube streaming is super goof. It is. It's a video platform first and foremost, and live streams are very much an afterthought. Whereas Twitch is a streaming platform. That there's video archives, right? Stream archives for each account. But their main draw, their main thing that they do is streams. And so if their streams sucked, if their back-end interface was horrible and completely lacking like YouTube's is, if their moderation tools were completely sparse and nearly non-existent like YouTube's is, then Twitch would be in a lot of trouble. Bro, YouTube streaming is super goof. Yeah, it really is. Send to me, Charlotte. Weird. So YouTube has audio bitrate limits, and Twitch has video bitrate limits. Maybe. I'm not quite sure what the video bitrate limit is on each side. I think I've streamed at about 5,000 kilobits per second for a while now. And I don't think it's hit against either of their limits. Pan. Welcome. It's good to see you. How's your day been so far? It's so odd that YouTube decides to limit audio bit rates. Like, it just takes a bit more of a big boost, and it just takes a bit more for a big boost in quality. Weird place to cut corners. That mirrors my thoughts exactly I would more than give up 10% of my video bitrate for, the sort of audio quality that Twitch is getting. Especially as someone who mostly deals in sound. I'm a bard, right? I deal in voice and in violin and music. And so that the YouTube bitrate, that super low quality cap, is terribly detrimental to me. And not how I want to represent my art to people. Charlotte, from my experience, Twitch's video bitrate limit is terrible, or at least not enough to keep up with my game without turning it into a blocky mess. I had to increase my video bitrate probably more than the average person. On YouTube, the quality was great, but on Twitch, the stream couldn't even start in the first place because I crossed the limit. What was the limit you crossed? Was it somewhere around 8, 10, maybe 16 kilobits? Sorry, 8, 10, 16 megabits. Pan, been good? Very chill? It's good to hear. A few other people have seem to have had a fairly chill day. You believe it was 6,000? That's odd. I'm fairly sure I've streamed to Twitch at 8,000. Maybe not. I think I turned it down from 8 to 5 at some point last year. And that point may have been before I started dual streaming. Charlotte, I had to put it on 10 megabits to keep up with my game. It's a very visually busy game. That's fair. That's super fair. They're definitely... I mean, any sort of action game could benefit from that level of video bitrate. Oh, let me do 3 minutes of ads real quick to turn the pre-rolls off for another hour. If you're subbed, you don't have to, you won't be kidnapped by the ads. But otherwise, see you in 3 minutes. I won't start a story before then, don't worry. And there we go. Let me just make sure that things are working as well as they can be. And there we go. I did the Arara, I did the Sip Redeem. Good. Oh. Welcome back to... Oh, you're on the YouTube set because of ads. Right, that makes sense. The game I was playing is exceptionally busy. Way, way more than the average action game. Okay. It wasn't Guns the Duel, was it? Suppose that one wasn't super visually busy so much as input busy from the player side. What game were you playing, out of curiosity? Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers. That was not a name I expected to hear. Is that a fairly recent game? Robotnik is Sonic, right? The Sonic series? Interesting. Have you heard of the game before? Only in passing, only once or twice. A fan game from last year. That makes sense. Unfortunately, my knowledge of games themselves isn't too wide or too deep. I tend to know more about soundtracks than the games themselves. Although I do play a fair few games, but... Let's see... And Twitch is back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome back, Twitch. Thank you for bearing with the ads. If I had my choice, I just wouldn't show ads, but then everybody coming in gets pre-rolls, and that kills everything, so... Charlotte, if you're not too familiar with video games, I'm surprised you've heard of the game in passing at all. It's pretty niche. I think it's mostly the people around me. So I know Vivian is probably just lurking right now, but she tends to have a fairly both deep and wide knowledge of games. I wouldn't characterize my knowledge of video games as not too familiar with video games, just maybe the average PC gamer. Simply put, I know more soundtracks than actual games that I've actually played. So, for instance, Final Fantasy is a fairly well-known series, right? And most people know the music from 9 and 10, often 14, also often 7. But Final Fantasy 6 and 4 also have gorgeous, gorgeous soundtracks. And I basically know the 4 soundtrack front to back. But I've never touched the game. And I've seen about 30 minutes of gameplay. I see. Ring Racers as if you took Mario Kart, injected a fighting game moveset, and put it on 2 liters of adrenaline. Oh dear. At what point does it become an overdose? Ro, I love Final Fantasy so much. I adore the main theme from 1. I'm actually kind of wondering what the main theme from 1 is. It's definitely too much for some people. That's fair, Charlotte. But I suppose that's why it's a fan game, right? Because if you tried to, they might not be able to sustain a studio with the popularity of a game like that, but fans are able to. Speaking of FF1, Ro, one of the things in my violin repertoire is Matoya's Cave. And the reason I know it is because they remixed it for Final Fantasy XIV. But in my repertoire, it's actually listed under 1, if memory serves. Charlotte, not really. I think that Sega could have very well made this game themselves back in the day. Does seem like Sega missed many chances, though. Oh, I have 2 kitties just resting on my desk. I DM'd you a gorgeous arrangement of the main theme of FF1. Oh, thank you, Ro. I'll definitely take a look at it after the stream is done. Oh my, I could run ads again if I wanted to. Evidently you can run 3 minutes every 8 minutes. Which sounds horrible, by the way, although I know some channels that do that. And basically will try to shove their viewers into becoming subscribers, which is icky. Icky. Some of them are good artists. I've been in gaming spaces long enough to know what hostile game design looks like. Honestly, a lot of the things that I do for stream, the little particulars of my stream and the way it's set up and the things I do are often based on my pet peeves. I didn't like a thing growing up, so why would anybody else? If I arrange sheet music and play it, then, my old pet peeve growing up was when I found arrangements that I couldn't get access to. So, put it for free on my Coffee account. Hello, hello, Haru. Hey there, checking in from my in-laws' place where they still have power. It's been out for us since Friday night. No wonder. Are you two okay? Sounds like it sounds like you at least have warmth and shelter. It's Monday afternoon now? Yeah. That's at least, 3 whole days? 3 full days? No drama other than the power outage? That's fair enough. Unfortunate. And hello, hello. The music streams and the gaming streams are definitely something up your alley, right? But I don't know if... Well, then again, I suppose there are others that are in their afternoons, not in their evenings, so I suppose I shouldn't be too worried that you'll fall asleep at an inopportune time of day. The city just south of us got wrecked bad, though. Oh dear. How bad is the damage? Thousands of homes flooded? That is a fair amount. compared to hundreds where you are? And for your house in particular, just power outage, no flooding? Well, hopefully this helps in the summer. Oh, and thank you for the follow over on Twitch, Charlotte. Hope you enjoy your time here. Let's see. Right, we were picking out something to read. Just as a reminder, if you have a request that's fantasy, I'm up for it. And in the meantime, I think we'll read about the realm of Oblivion, which is not the realm of Oblivion. These are a set of realms that exist in Mundus, which is the existence of the Elder Scrolls. And they are ruled by the Daedric princes. And they are princes, but the gender of each is varied and often up in the air. But perhaps before I read, do I need to ask my kitty to not be quite so loud? I'm going to hop out and watch some YouTube. There's so much I missed. Lovely to say hi, though. It's lovely to see you. Hopefully we'll see you more often soon. And hopefully you'll be able to get back to your house with all of the modern amenities working. Take care, okay? I will be right back. 20 to 30 seconds. And I'm back. Also, if anybody here isn't on our Discord, I put stream alerts there, updates, as well as we geek out about all sorts of topics. And also I have social media over on Fedi. I think you'll find a link in the description or the About section. Otherwise, like, sub, follow, sub, depending on what platform you're on. And let's get into On Oblivion. It is improper, however customary, to refer to the denizens of the dimension of Oblivion as demons, This practice probably dates to the Alessian doctrines of the First Era prophet Maruk, which, rather amusingly, forbade traffic with diamonds, and then neglected to explain what diamonds were. It is most probable that daimon is a misspelling or etymological rendition of Daedra, the old elven word for those strange, powerful creatures of uncertain motivation who hail from the dimensions of oblivion. Daedra is actually the plural form. The singular is Daedroth. In a later tract by King Hael the Pious of Skyrim, almost 1,000 years after the publication of the original doctrines, the evil machinations of his political enemies are compared to the wickedness of the demons of oblivion. Their depravity equals that of Sanguine itself. They are cruel as Boethia, calculating as Molag Bal, and mad as Sheogorath. Hael the Pious thus long-windedly introduced 4 of the Daedra lords to written record. But the written record is not, after all, the best way to research oblivion and the Daedra who inhabit it. Those who traffic with diamonds seldom wish it to be a matter of public account. Nevertheless, scattered throughout the literature of the First Era are diaries, journals, notices for witch burnings, and guides for Daedra slayers. These I have used as my primary source material. They are at least as trustworthy as the Daedra lords I have actually summoned and spoken with at length. Apparently, oblivion is a place composed of many lands. Thus, the many names for which oblivion is synonymous. Cold Harbor, Quagmire, Moon Shadow, etc. It may be correctly supposed that each land of oblivion is ruled over by one prince. The Daedra princes whose names appear over and over in ancient records, though this is not an infallible test of their authenticity or explicit existence, to be sure, are the aforementioned Sanguine, Boethia, Molag Bal, Sheogorath, and in addition, Azura, Mephala, Clavigus Vile, Vermina, Malakath, Hermias, or Hermaeus, or Hermias, or Herma. There seems to be no one accepted spelling. Mora, Namira, Jigalag, Nocturnal, Mehrunes Dagon, and Periite. From my experience, Daedra are a very mixed lot. It is almost impossible to categorize them as a whole, except for their immense power and penchant for extremism. Be that as it may, I have here attempted to do so in a few cases, purely for the sake of scholastic expediency. Mehrunes Dagon, Molag Bal, Periite, Boethia, and Vermina are among the most consistently, quote-unquote, demonic of the Daedra, in the sense that their spheres seem to be destructive in nature. The other Daedra can, of course, be equally dangerous. but seldom purely for the sake of destruction as these 5 can. Nor are these previous 5 identical in their destruction. Marin's Dagon seems to prefer natural disasters, earthquakes, volcanoes, for venting his anger. Molag Bal elects the employment of other Daedra, and Boethia inspires the arms of mortal warriors. Periite's sphere seems to be pestilence, and Vermina's torture. In preparation for the next installment in this series, I will be investigating 2 matters that have intrigued me since I began my career as a Daedra researcher. The first is on one particular Daedroth, perhaps yet another Daedra prince, referred to in multiple articles of Incunabula as Hircine. Hircine has been called the huntsman of the princes and the father of man-beasts, but I have yet to find anyone who can summon him. The other, perhaps more doubtful, goal I have is to find a practical means for mortal men to pass through to oblivion. It has always been my philosophy that we need only fear that which we do not understand, and with that in mind, I ever pursue my objective. And that was On Oblivion. Thank you for the Arara redeem, Fluffy. Let's see here. Arara. Oh, that bongo emote is so cute. So is that wave emote. My tailbone. Gotta get up from the floor. That's fair, Fluffy. Hey, Ara so early. Welcome, Raven. This is our second Ara redeem. The first was done nearly an hour ago now. Welcome in, Raven. And a sip. And a stretch. Oh, Myro. Thank you. Raven, eh? People loves to get araras. They definitely do. You know, it's interesting that Arara has become so ubiquitous. At the very least on Twitch. It's a very specific form of a phrase in Japanese. There's are, so not are as in that, but are as in a question, right? kind of a question mark or question mark. And then ara is a non-questioning form of oh, or oh dear, or oh my. And so from there it's ara, arara, ara ara, that sort of thing. They're all siblings and often get used in similar circumstances in daily speech. But I think ara ara got used very much by, well, I suppose the succubus archetype, the older sister or MILF archetypes. I know they're popular on some anime stuff. Yeah, that's probably where a lot of it comes from. Those sorts of anime. Whether they're explicit or not. MILF stuff, yes. That, like I said, that whole archetype. Oh, because the phrase itself has much to do and is hard to decouple, I think, from, again, so archetypes of characters. And in this case, it's the either an older sister or a motherly archetype, which succubi tend to also fall into a lot of the time. And it doesn't even have to be 18 plus. That those archetypes, those characters exist in a lot of media. Vilafar, there's also the fact that it's a nice musical sound. It's just pretty to listen to when someone has a nice voice. I agree. I definitely agree. Thank you again for the redeems, Ro. I have had a sip, and I have had a stretch. Vilafar, and Tavi has a really nice voice for it. Thank you. I also get to cheat a little bit, because Japanese is my first language, so I don't have to approximate it or anything like that. I just know how it's supposed to sound. Now then, what else shall we read about? My only real complaint of the books within the Elder Scrolls world is that a lot of them have bad endings. I don't mean the book is bad. I mean, I wouldn't want to be your average character in a book from the Elder Scrolls. The number of compliments I got on my voice the first time I ara'd on stream was wild. Oh, Ro, you know how to use your voice for that sort of thing really well. Whereas for people like me, are just learning. VLFR, it's a really good set of sounds to show off some nice musical qualities. Musical. That's what we'll call it. There's definitely, I suppose, in English, the word is sultry. It's a smoothness with a warmth and a little bit of a smirk. Meep. What's going on over there, Ro? Hmm? Yeah, that's sort of. Normally, my speaking voice is a little lighter, right? Than to. Doesn't have to be so much lower, although lowering the pitch of the voice is often used. But often there's this lilt that's introduced to it, which, now that I think about it, Vilafar, that is musical, is a good way of explaining, describing it, you know. I wonder, and that sort of thing. But also a smoothness to it as well. Perhaps a smoothness to the enunciation. It's a nice sing-songy kind of voice, or kind of sound. Yeah, I think I agree with that. And also, often, or perhaps not even often, perhaps always, it's not really in a rush to go anywhere. So I found an entry in the archives called Cats of Skyrim. But it's a shame that it's so short. Raven, I like the lady's voice indeed. I'm glad you do. Ah, Ro. Cats mentioned. Neurons activated. Some people see thighs and have their neurons activated. Some people hear arara and have their neurons activated. Other people, they hear cats. And they go, cats? Cats? I heard cats. Where are the cats? If you're a Ro, it's all of the above. That's fair. I may be in that same boat. Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I'm meow meow meow, and I'm meow meow meow. I hear lady voice, I get my neurons activated. That's also fair. Now, let's see. This is another short one. So many super short books. What shall we read? Okay, this one works. This is a book called Withershins. Withershins. All right, said Kazaga. Why don't you want to talk? Zaki put down his mug of mead and stared at his wife for a few seconds. Finally, grudgingly, because every time I have a conversation, darling, it flows in alphabetical order. Just like I told you. I think the only way to stop it is not to talk at all. Couldn't you just be imagining this? Said Kazaga patiently. It wouldn't be the first time you had an insane paranoid delusion. Remember when you thought the royal battle mage of Blackmarsh was hiding behind every tree with lewd intent on making you, a middle-aged, fat, balding tailor, into his personal sex slave? You don't need to be ashamed, but it's Shugarath's way to make us all a little crazy sometimes. If you go to a healer... Damn it, Kazaga, snarled Zaki and stomped out, slamming the door behind him. He nearly collided with Siasat, his neighbor. Excuse me, she said to Zaki's back. He clamped his hand over his ears as he stomped down the street, turning the corner to his tailor shop. His first customer was waiting out front, smiling widely. Zaki tried to keep his temper under control and took out his keys, returning the customer's smile. Fine day, said the young man. Gods, howled Zaki, sending the young man flying with a well-placed punch and dashing away. As much as he hated to admit that Kazaga was right, it was evidently time, once again, for one of the healer's herbal cocktails. Tarsu's temple to health, mental and physical, was several streets north, an impressive obelisk. Halka, the chief herbalist, met him before he came in the hall. How are you today, Suzaki-san? I need to make an appointment with Tarsu, said Zaki in his calmest voice. Just one moment. Let me see how his schedule looks, Halka said, looking up her scroll. Is this an emergency? Kind of, said Zaki and slapped his head. Why couldn't he say yes, or absolutely, or sure? Let's see, said Halka, frowning. The best I can do is next Midas. Would that work for you? Midas, cried Zaki. I'll be a complete psychotic by Midas. Isn't there anything earlier? He knew what the answer would be before she said it. There was no alternative. In a way, he had forced the response. If only he had kept the conversation going until why. Now, said Haka, I'm sorry. Do you want me to make the appointment? Zaki walked away, gritting his teeth. He wandered the streets, his head down to avoid all conversation, until he looked up and discovered that he had walked all the way to the wharf. A sweet breeze was blowing along the water, and he took several deep breaths until he felt almost normal. When his temper cooled, he could think again. What if this alphabetical conversation wasn't a delusion at all? What if what he felt wasn't paranoia, but acute awareness? He knew it was the classic dilemma. Am I crazy, or is there really something weird going on? Across the road was a shop called Paradox, featuring a display of herbs, crystals, and vapors trapped in orbs. The sign in the window read, Mystical Consultation, sunrise to noon. It was worth a shot, though Zaki was dubious. The only people who generally came down the wharf for healing were the stupid adventurers who didn't know any better. Incense burned in copious billows of pink and gold, obscuring and then revealing the clutter within. Zizek death masks glowered down from the walls, smoking censers hung by chains from the ceiling. And the floor was a maze of bookshelves. At a well-worn table in the back, a small man wearing a headdress was tabulating a young lady's purchases. Okay, said the man. Your total comes to 57 gold pieces. I threw in the restorative scale conditioner for free. Just remember that the candle should be lit only after you invoke Goraflux the Unholy, and Mandrake Root does best in partial shade. The customer gave a quick, shy smile to Zaki and left the store. Please help me, said Zaki. Every conversation I hear or get involved in seems to be arranged alphabetically. I don't know if I'm going insane or if there's some kind of bizarre forces at work. To be honest with you, I'm normally a skeptic when it comes to your type of business, but I'm at the end of my rope. Could you do anything to make this madness end? Quite a common problem, actually, said the man, patting Zaki on the arm. When you get to the end of the alphabet, do conversations then go to reverse alphabetical order, or start at the beginning of the alphabet? Reverse alphabetical order, said Zaki, and then corrected himself. Damn it, I mean it starts from the beginning, all over again. I'm in agony. And can you call the spirits and tell me, am I insane? Sauriki, said the man with a reassuring smile. I don't have to. You're quite sane. Thank you, said Zaki, frowning. By the way, my name's Zaki, not Sauriki. Unusually close, eh? Said the man, patting Zaki on the back. My name's Octoplasm. Follow me, please. I think I have just what you need. Octoplasm led Zaki down the narrow corridor behind the desk. The two men pushed past dusty cabinets filled with strange creatures in liquids, past heaps of Neolithic stones, past stack after stack of mouldering leather-bound books, into the dank heart of the store. There, he picked up a small, squat, cylindrical drum and a book and handed them to Zaki. Vampirism, Daedric possession, and withershin therapy, said Zaki. Vampirism, Daedric possession, and withershin therapy, said Zaki, squinting his eyes to read the book in the gloom. What in oblivion does this have to do with me? I'm not a vampire. Look at this tan. And what's withershin therapy? And how much will it cost me? Withershins, from the old Cyrodiilic wither signs, which means backwards, said Octoplasm in a serious tone. It's the art of reversing the direction of things in order to gain access to the spirit world and break curses, cure vampirism, and trigger all manner of apotropaic healing. You know, the story about the guy who was told that slaughterfish live in hot water. So he said, well, let's boil them in cold water. Xenophis, said Zaki instinctively, his brother having taken a rather esoteric upper-level course in Cyrodiilic philosophy as an elective in the Imperial College 31 years before, and immediately wishing he hadn't. And what do you do with the cylindrical thingy? Octoplasm lit a candle and held the object over it so Zaki could see more clearly. All along the cylinder were narrow slits, and when Zaki peered within them, he saw a succession of old black and white drawings of a naked man leaping over boxes, one frame after the next. You spin it like so, said Octoplasm, slowly whirling the device clockwise so that the man within leapt over the boxes again and over again. It's called a zoetrope. Pretty neat, eh? Now, you take it and start spinning it counterclockwise, and while you're doing it, read this incantation I've marked in the book. Zaki took the zoetrope and began spinning it counterclockwise over the candle. So the little naked man within seemed to bound backwards over the boxes. It took a little coordination and concentration to keep whirling at a steady pace, but gradually the man's awkward and jerky jump backs were more and more fluid until Zaki could no longer see the individual frames skipping. It looked just like a little humanoid hamster on an endless reverse treadmill. While he continued to spin the zoetrope with one hand, Zaki took the book in the other and read the underlined passage. Zoetrope counterspin, counterspin, counterspin. Pull my life from the rut that it's in. I invoke the goddesses Boethia, Kinnereth, and Drissis. to avert my potentially metaphysical crisis. My old life may have been rather pointless and plain, but I dislike the prospect of going insane. Make the pattern reverse by this withershin. Zoetrope, counterspin, counterspin, counterspin. As he chanted the spell, Zaki noticed that the little naked man in the zoetrope began to look more like himself. The mustache vanished, and the hairline receded. The man's waistline expanded, and the buttocks sagged to the shape and texture of half-inflated balloons. Scales approximating his own Argonian pattern appeared. The man began to trip as he bounded backwards over the boxes, taking bigger breaths and sweating. By the time Zaki reached the end of the incantation, his twin was clutching his chest and tumbling end over the boxes in free fall. Octoplasm took the zoetrope and the book from Zaki's hands. Nothing seemed to have changed. No thunder had rumbled, no winged serpents had sprung out of Zaki's head, no fiery explosions. But Zaki felt that something was different. Good different. Normal. At the counter, when Zaki pulled out his satchel of gold pieces, Octoplasm merely shook his head. Are treatments radical, such of effects term long, what sure, but can't we naturally charge no? Feeling the first real relief he had felt in days, Zaki walked backwards out of the shop and down the road to his shop. And that was Withershins. Rather interesting book. Row, lewd intent. Lewd intent. Or at least he thought so anyway. Let's see. Let me do one last 3-minute ad break real quick so that we can get the pre-rolls to stay off, and then we'll read some more. And for anybody who has not been kidnapped by the ads, I suppose we'll do a little last call for requests. And also maybe boost the Fetty posts. And I guess go from there. Let's see. Still a little bit at a loss as to what to read. Oh, I know. There's one. There's two. Maybe we'll do that one as well. And also maybe we'll do the intro from Icewind Dale 2. I suppose I'll take another sip, shall I? Make sure to take care of the voice and all that. I think Twitch will be back soon, so we'll start very soon. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Welcome back, Twitch. Now we'll read through the 3 or 4 stories that I have readied. So this first one will actually be going to a different game. And this is called, well, not called, it is the intro from the game Icewind Dale 2. And it is a character, a gnome, by the name of Merrily Fiddlebender, whose storybook, the Icewind Dale 2 book game, follows. The book details some of her past experiences, and as the player, you get to play not quite through the book itself. Her experiences aren't often the same as yours, but the events run parallel and have much to do with each other. And this was originally voiced by Kath Susi. I must, for myself, examine the reasons I left the comfort of Kuldahar for a journey to Deeping Dale, the place of Isilor's birth. It was much like the assignments given to me by Uncle Oswald and Isilor himself. When Isilor left these lands near the inner sea for the spine of the world, he told his fellow druids he would send a student to replace him. This, I told myself, was why I left. But now, as I sit by the warmth of a fire in Miramar, I realize what Isilor must have already known. I remember the details vividly. It started many years ago. The year was 1310 Dale Reckoning, when scouts from Burn Shander, the largest of the 10 towns, first reported sightings of goblin warbands. Within weeks, a river of goblins had flowed forth from the spine of the world, and above that wave of death sailed a banner bearing the monstrous heads of the Chimera. The militiamen of the 10 towns would have been the Dale's only defense had the forces of fate been against Bernshander. But Ulbrich Dinsmore, the mayor of the town of Targos, urged the council to send a messenger south to the port cities of Luskin and Neverwinter. Luskin had problems of her own, but fearful of repercussions, the captains of Luskin devised a simple plan. Throughout the city, they posted notices promising wealth and fame. With lean work in the northern port city, many mercenaries and thugs were lured to the ships that would take them even further north. And so their ships crept through the sea of moving ice and on to the Shangarn River. They bragged of the deeds they would perform and the castles they would purchase. Lost in their reverie, they were blind to the throngs of goblins and orcs that lay in wait. Only a few ships survived the assault. Those that continued up the river watched as the town of Bremen burned. One of the 10 towns had already fallen. Many wondered, as I often wonder, what difference only a few can make against so many, and in the midst of such terrible circumstances. And that was the introduction to Icewind Dale 2. Now, let's see. What were the others that I had lined up? Ah, here it is. So this is called Night Falls on Sentinel. Let me take a sip again. Night Falls on Sentinel. No music played in the nameless tavern in Sentinel, and indeed there was very little sound except for discreet, cautious murmurs of conversation. The soft pad of the barmaid's feet on stone, and the delicate slurping of the regular patrons, tongues lapping at their flagons, eyes focused on nothing at all. If anyone were less otherwise occupied, the sight of the young red guard woman in a fine black velvet cape might have aroused surprise, even suspicion. As it was, the strange figure, out of place in an underground cellar so modest it had no sign, blended into the shadows. Are you Jomic? The stout, middle-aged man with a face older than his years looked up and nodded. He returned to his drink. The young woman took the seat next to him. "My name is Habala," she said, and pulled out a small bag of gold, placing it next to his mug. "Sure it be," snarled Shomik, and met her eyes again. "Who do you want dead?" She did not turn away, but merely asked, "Is it safe to talk here?" "No one cares about nobody else's problem but their own here. You could take off your cuirass and dance bare-breasted on the table, and no one would even spit." The man smiled. "So, who do you want dead?" "No one, actually," said Habala. "The truth is, I only want someone removed for a while. Not harmed, you understand? And that's why I need a professional. You come highly recommended." Who you been talking to?" asked Jomick dully, returning to his drink. "A friend of a friend of a friend of a friend." "One of 'em friends don't know what he's talking about," grumbled the man. "I don't do that anymore." Habala quietly took out another purse of gold, and then another, placing them at the man's elbow. He looked at her for a moment and then poured the gold out and began counting. As he did, he asked, "Who do you want removed?" "Just a moment," smiled Habala, shaking her head. "Before we talk details, I want to know that you're a professional and you won't harm this person very much, and that you'll be discreet." "You want discreet?" The man paused in his counting. "All right, I'll tell you about an old job of mine. It's been, by Archy, I can hardly believe it, more than 20 years. No one but me's alive who had anything to do with the job. This is back before the time of the War of Bethany. Remember that?" "I was just a baby." "Of course you was," Jomick smiled. "Everyone knows that King Lawton had an older brother, Greclith, what died, you right. And then he's got his older sister, Abki, what married that king fella in Daggerfall. But the truth is that he had 2 elder brothers." "Really?" Habala's eyes glistened with interest. "No lie," he chuckled. "Weedy, feeble fella called Arthago, the king and queen's firstborn. Anyhow, this prince was heir to the throne, which his parents wasn't too thrilled about. But then the queen, she squeezed out 2 more princes who looked a lot more fit. That's when me and my boys got hired on, to make it look like the first prince got took off by the under king or some such story." "I had no idea," the young woman whispered. "Of course you didn't. That's the point." Jomick shook his head. "Discretion, like you said. We bagged the boy, dropped him off deep in an old ruin, and that was that. No fuss, just a couple fellas, a bag and a cloth. That's what I'm interested in, said Abala. Technique. My friend, who needs to be taken away, is weak also, like this prince. What is the club for? It's a tool. So many things what was better in the past ain't around no more. Just because people today prefer ease of use to what works right. Let me explain. There's 71 prime pain centers in an average fella's body. Elves and Khajiit, being so sensitive and all, got 3 and 4 more respectively. Argonians and Slodes, almost as many as 52 and 67. Jomick used his short, stubby finger to point out each region on Habala's body. 6 in your forehead, 2 in your brow, 2 on your nose, 7 in your throat, 10 in your chest, 9 in your abdomen, 3 on each arm, 12 in your groin, 4 in your favorite leg, 5 in the other. That's 63, replied Habala. Oh, that's 63, replied Habala. No, it's not, growled Jomick. Yes, it is, the young lady cried back, indignant that her mathematical skills were being questioned. 6 plus 2 plus 2 plus 7 plus 10 plus 9 plus 3 for one arm and 3 for the other plus 12 plus 4 plus 5. 63. I must have left some out, shrugged Jomick. The important thing is that to become skilled with a staff or a club, you got to be a master of these pain centers. Done right, a light tap could kill, or knock out without so much as a bruise. Fascinating, smiled Habala. And no one ever found out? Why would they? The boy's parents, the king and queen, they're both dead now. The other children always thought their brother got carried off by the under-king. That's what everyone thinks, and all my partners are dead. Of natural causes? Ain't nothing natural that ever happens in the bay, you know all that. One fella got sucked up by one of them Selenu. Another died of the same plague and took the queen and Prince Greclith. Another fella got himself beat up to death by a burglar. You gotta keep low, out of sight, like me, if you wanna stay alive. Jomick finished counting the coins. You must want this fella out of the way bad. Who is it? It's better if I show you, said Habala, standing up. Without a look back, she strode out of the nameless tavern. Jomick drained his beer and went out. The night was cool, with an unrestrained wind surging off the water of Iliac Bay, sending leaves flying like whirling shards. Habala stepped out of the alleyway next to the tavern and gestured to him. As he approached her, the breeze blew open her cape, revealing the armor beneath, and the crest of the king of Sentinel. The fat man stepped back to flee, but she was too fast. In a blur, he found himself in the alley, on his back, the woman's knee pressed firmly against his throat. The king spent years since he took the throne looking for you and your collaborators, Jomek. His instructions to me for what to do when I found you were not specific, but you've given me an idea. From her belt, Habala removed a small, sturdy cudgel. A drunk tumbled out of the bar, heard a whimpered moan, accompanied by a soft whisper coming from the darkness of the alley. Let's keep better count this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that is Nightfalls on Sentinel from The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind. Hello, hello, Autumn. Welcome, welcome. How's your day been so far? I think Chad is just sleepy. Which, I suppose, is the whole point of this, but... well, others may get other sorts of value out of it, but... on the whole, I do welcome people into the space to chat and then to nap and sleep, so... Vilafar, I'm just enjoying the pretty voice. That's fair. I'm trying to keep the masculine voices, maybe not quite as pretty, but at least not jarring. Autumn, it was the first night of Tech Week for the show that I'm doing, so I'm a bit tired. Oh. Tech Week. A convention or symposium of some sort? Or an online event? If I didn't say so already, welcome to the stream. It's interesting reading some of these longer stories, because I feel it's very much almost in a flow-like state. Not quite a trance, but getting out of that state of mind is not an uphill climb, but there is a little bump there. There's a ledge that I have to get over. Oh dear. I think I'm getting sleepy. Oh no, like a musical or an opera in this case. Tech Week is where everything gets put together, sets, lights, actors, music, etc. Basically putting everything together before we open on Friday. I envy you. That part of the rehearsal process is both hectic and frustrating as all hell, and also super, super fun. Feels like the last musical that I really performed in was God's 3 years ago. And hey, it was a really fun musical, but tech rehearsal. I think we had 1 or 2 full days of tech rehearsal. Getting everything organized and properly coordinated is a task. Well, I won't ask, I suppose. I was about to say, which opera are you doing, but that starts to get a little specific and slightly doxy, so. Let's see, that was the Night Falls on Sentinel. Huh. I'm sorry this is so soon after you've come to stream, Autumn, but I think I'm going to read one more story and then raid out. So I'm starting to get properly sleepy. Thinking last night definitely didn't help. Autumn doesn't bother me to answer. Oh, okay. Doing Gilbert and Sullivan's Patience. Oh, that's not what I'm familiar with at all. What sort of opera is it? And also, is the music good? Actually, I think I might read the intro from the Celestia Code again. Feels like we read it once every other stream. And if I had my way, I would read it every stream. So this is the introduction of Chapter 1 from the Celestia Code by Esau. The Celestia Code, Chapter 1, the Treasure Room. As I watched the books burn among the ruins, I couldn't help the near instinctive urges that jolted through me like electricity. I could save them. A small shield spell around the fire would starve it of oxygen almost immediately, and when the heap had cooled enough not to reignite, I could... But I had set them burning for a reason, and it was already too late to save them. The fire wasn't small, like the countless ones I had set in the fireplace of my bedroom above the library. Those fires had been comforting, their heat gentle, their flames waving slowly, almost like Celestia's mane when backlit by the sun. I shook my head to clear it and brought myself back to reality. The bonfire hissed and roared, flames and burning bits of paper leaping skyward. The heat was sharp and uncomfortable, even at a dozen lengths distance. My mane fluttered in the breeze caused by the air rushing in to feed the blaze, as if in mockery of the ethereal motion of Celestius. I felt nauseous again. If I could reverse the chemical reaction, flip entropy around, perhaps the failsafe spell. No, it was beyond my power. I was just panicking in a silent, cerebral way. What had been done could not be undone. Even books that had been written by some wooden-headed ideologue who wouldn't know the scientific method if it bucked her in the teeth were nearly sacred to me. My reverence didn't stop me from adding a note of scathing commentary in the margins, but to actually, deliberately destroy a book. It was unthinkable. Until that night. Until I set fire to scores of unique manuscripts that bore knowledge recorded nowhere else in the world, destroying them forever. It was a crime I could never forgive myself for. But it was an act that was unquestionably necessary. "Twilight," came a voice from the darkness behind me. "Twilight, where are you?" I groaned and squeezed my eyes shut. Unquestionably necessary, but impossible to explain or justify. Only a few short days before, I couldn't even have imagined this appalling situation. And that is the intro to the Celestia Code by Esau. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much to everyone who came and everyone who stayed, listened, or napped, or improperly slept. And also to the few people that newly followed me today. And also to my backers on Coffee that put food on my table, with especially significant contributions from Verity and MJ. I literally couldn't do what I do without the donations on Coffee. Not very much a comedic opera, not the best music from the Gilbert and Sullivan catalog. Oh, whole catalog. Something I might want to take a look at later. Oh, thank you for using the emojis. Alright. Anyone on the YouTube side, if you'd like to come over to the Twitch side of things, going to raid out to someone. Who shall we raid out to? I'm honestly unsure. There's nobody that quite fits the vibe. Maybe... Yeah, that works. Let me bring the music down. And... raid. So they're named Jen the VTuber, or Jen the Dummy. I think they're playing StarCraft 2 right now. Alright. Night night, everyone. And for those on Twitch, see you on the other side of the raid. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you again. Night night. Sweet dreams.